Marvel has had several unrelated comic book universes: the MCU, the X-Men, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and I was quite happy for those worlds to not overlap. Now, first to cross over into the MCU after the Sony deal was Spider-Man, of course. That worked pretty well, despite requiring a reboot of the character once again. Now we're starting to see the slow merger of the X-Men universe into the MCU. Of course, Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer, showed up at the end of the Marvels, and Adamantium was a part of the plot for Captain America Brave New World. Back in 2022, we had the film Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which saw an alternate universe version of Professor X, played by Patrick Stewart. Deadpool and Wolverine saw both of those characters cross over into the MCU Universe 616. As we know, the Fantastic Four universe is also entering the MCU with their own movie, First Steps, coming soon. The Fantastic Four is an odd one for me. I mean, sure, I liked the cartoon as a kid, but none of the films really worked for me. I didn't think they were especially strong. And the third one, which was a separate reboot, that really crashed and burned. That was a bad movie. Moreover, the X-Men universe in film was already in decline by X-Men Apocalypse, and then ended, I think, on a poor note with Dark Phoenix. The two standout characters from those X-Men films were Wolverine and Professor X, and I always felt that the other characters were underutilized. I mean, there's a reason why Deadpool said to Logan in Deadpool and Wolverine, "You were the X-Man." Because he was. He outshone all the other characters. And of course, I mean, Hugh Jackman's performance as Logan Wolverine was just fantastic. The Deadpool movies were always a bit adjacent to the main X-Men movies because, they're comedies as well, and they never felt like they were directly part of the same lore, even though technically they were. The X-Men have a lot of very interesting characters, though, that so easily could have been developed further in those films, but only Wolverine really got any significant attention. To enter the MCU, there's going to have to be a great deal more focus on other X-Men characters, including ones that didn't get very much screen time in those X-Men movies. Now, I want to take a look at this article from Screen Rant. It says, X-Men is coming to the MCU sooner than you think, according to Brad Winterbaum. Ever since the Walt Disney Company acquired 21st Century Fox in 2019, audiences have speculated on when the X-Men franchise would merge with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Since then, there have been a few major updates. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, was confirmed as a mutant in Miss Marvel. Patrick Stewart reprised his role as Professor X, Charles Xavier, in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. X-Men 97 brought mutants back to Marvel on the small screen. Deadpool officially joined the MCU alongside an incarnation of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine in a multiversal story. Yet there seems to be no confirmed appearance of the beloved team in the MCU proper. Screen Rant's Liam Crowley spoke with Marvel Studios' head of streaming, Brad Winterbaum, about the future of the X-Men in the MCU, as well as rumours that an Academy X-Men series could be in the works. Screen Rant. There's a report that went out recently that Academy X could be something in the works. What can you say about Marvel's live-action plans for mutants on the television front? Brad Winterbaum. I think anyone could say anything online, and it hits the rumour mill, and people get excited. Right now, we are still working on X-Men 97 Season 2. It's coming together amazingly, and the scripts for Season 3 are insane. That is certainly scratching the X-Men itch for me on television. And there is an X-Men feature in development right now, so that is the focus of X-Men currently. What we do understand is that the long-term plan is to have X-Men characters likely play a bigger role in the MCU after Avengers Secret Wars, which is the big endgame style tentpole movie that follows Avengers Doomsday, because Doomsday and Secret Wars are part 1 and 2. And I always felt that Marvel's desire to bring the X-Men and the Fantastic Four universes into the Marvel Cinematic Universe was born out of a kind of, I don't know, a lack of imagination or even a desperation to keep the MCU juggernaut going, to keep it fueled. And part of the strategy to achieve such crossovers has, at least in part, included the now tired plot device of the multiverse, which, audiences, MCU fans generally don't like, and has the potential of robbing a story of stakes and drama. We've also incidentally seen the multiverse used recently in the DC universe as well. I mean, every death that happens in a multiverse story can be undone. Consequences don't mean anything. Negative outcomes can just be undone, erased by bringing in an alternate version of a character from another timeline, whatever. There's no sense of danger for our heroes. But ultimately, I don't think the MCU needs the X-Men or Fantastic Four, for that matter. And I think it just creates the need for very contrived, time-bending plot devices in order to justify their inclusions in the story, in the universe. What should have happened, I think, is that legacy MCU characters should have just been recast when the actors were retiring from their roles. So, for example, after Endgame, I think that characters like Tony Stark, Natasha Romanoff, Steve Rogers, etc., I think they just should have been recast. Just keep the characters going, bring in new actors to play their roles. There were plenty more stories in those characters without needing to introduce another universe into the franchise that was always meant to be separate and always meant to be, unconnected. I have to say, to me, the idea of bringing in the likes of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe feels more like the powers that be just don't really know where to take the MCU next at this point. So they're sticking these unrelated franchises together for the novelty of it. But given the level of superhero fatigue among cinema-going audiences at this point, I don't see this move being quite as successful as they might have hoped it would be. No doubt, time will tell. But let me know, guys, am I wrong about this? Is bringing the mutants into the MCU the right decision? Does the MCU need the X-Men? And also, does it need the Fantastic Four, for that matter? I look forward to your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, share this video out there. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.